Hey there, chatters. I'm Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to the Crime Chat. I am your forensic femme fatale. Natalie is your true crimatic connoisseur.
We're just two normal girls who obsess about dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown.
Here is your disclaimer, chatters. The following Crime Chat does contain adult content and will have descriptions of violent scenarios today, so your listener discretion is advised.
Yes, you've been warned. And before we get into today's Crime Chat, Kat, what have you done?
I'm back home. Last time we recorded,
Yay.
I was gone.
Yes.
I'm back home. I kind of was getting settled in and everything. The other day, I was looking for something to watch, and I binged Agatha All Along.
How was it?
It was good.
Don't spoil it, because I want to watch it.
Yeah.
I just haven't.
I'm a nerd, like Marvel nerd, right? And I just love how they tied the story into Scarlet Witch and all these other things. And you know what I saw really briefly on part of my feed was the Red Hulk.
Is it a new character? Is it?
Oh, it's a Captain America, the Red Hulk. I was like,
Okay.
what? What is this? So General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is a fictional character who appeared in comic books published by Marvel featuring the Hulk. Ross is a United States military officer, the father of Betty Ross, and the ex-father-in-law of Glenn Talbot and Bruce Banner.
Interesting.
Harrison Ford is playing the Red Hulk.
He's an old guy, though.
I know. That's why it took me by surprise. I was like, is this real? Like, is this real thing? Like,
Yeah.
he's 82.
But is this going to be a movie, or is this going to be like a series?
It's a movie. He was an original Marvel character. I guess they're just bringing him around. And it might have been because when I was on Disney Plus, it might have been a teaser. That's where I saw it. It's coming out next year.
All right. That sounds cool.
And finally got Chris to watch Only Murders in the Building. I finished the series. He doesn't know I finished the series. But we're watching it over again, and my gosh, it's so good. We just started season 3. So we're where you are. And you still have to watch season 4. So good. So good. And other than that, just getting ready for Thanksgiving. By the time this comes out, Thanksgiving will be the following week. So our California family will be here for Thanksgiving. And the big grandbaby. So I've already put my tree up.
Okay.
But I did a Thanksgiving tree. And I don't really have a whole lot of Thanksgiving. It's just orange and brown flowers and stuff, and then I've got these little pillows that I kind of put on as ornaments, and then I've got the stuffed turkey that's the tree topper.
It's adorable. You have to take a picture of it. I have to see a picture.
I'll send you a picture.
Okay.
So I have a Thanksgiving tree, and I did that a couple years ago. Last year we were on a cruise over Thanksgiving, so I didn't do any Thanksgiving direct decorations. But the year before that was the first time I ever did a Thanksgiving tree. So we have the tree up, and then Scarlett is going to help us decorate it for Christmas. And I can't wait.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
And what about you?
We're in November. October just passed. October is our favorite month. I love Halloween. And I don't know why this popped up on my feed, but the movie is called The Return of the Pumpkin Rabbit. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay. Neither have I. And it's an animation.
Okay.
But when I tell you it is a dark animation, and it is scarier than any movie I have ever seen. Yeah. The way it's designed, and I don't know what you call that type of animation where it's kind of like the stop and go animation. It's like the frame by frame by frame.
Mm-hmm.
It creates such an eerie feeling that fucking scary. Cat, it's scary. Turn the lights off. Watch this. It's on YouTube, 30 minutes long.
I'm looking at it. Well, I'm looking at some, headlines and stuff from it now, or articles and stuff that came up on the Google. The family that kills trick-or-treaters.
Mm-hmm.
Return of Pumpkin Rabbit is actually horrifying.
Yeah, it really is.
Is a non-canon video for Halloween, a continuation of The Mysterious House. I'd never heard of The Mysterious House.
Whoever created this movie has a series of Halloween movies. It's the Walton Files.
Oh, I see the thing, the Walton Files. I see it, and it looks freaky.
Yeah.
Like the cover or the poster for it. It looks so freaky. Oh my gosh. So is this related to also Five Nights at Freddy's?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, that reminds me. Okay. One of the other things I watched. Okay, crap. It reminds me because you were talking about like it for kids, but it's like really fucking scary. Mr. Crockett. So it's on Hulu. It's called Mr. Crockett. And it is it's not like terrifying, but it made me jump a couple times. But it's also one of those humorous thrillers.
Okay. It's like a dark comedy.
Yes. It's got basically the premise of it is the guy, Mr. Crockett. Imagine Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where he's got this kids show, like Mr. Rogers meets Barney kind of thing, where they sing songs and it's like, and kids love it. Well, Mr. Crockett has a way to sense when a child who is watching his show is in a difficult home, abusive home, like manipulative, like just put in a bad situation. Well, Mr. Crockett comes through the TV and kills whoever's hurting this child and takes the child back to him, to his world.
Okay, I need to see this. Like, this is where do I find this?
Hulu. It's a Hulu original. And it came out, and I totally forgot to tell you this.
Oh my
I watched it a couple weeks ago. It was good. But you know me, I'm not the best movie critic. I'm easy to please. But it had some funny parts. It was pretty gory.
Okay.
For something that could be mistaken as a child film.
Okay.
But it is rated R. It's a horror film. It has some moments that made me laugh as well. So that's reminded me of it. Like when you were describing that, I was sparked. Oh yes.
And that's about it. That's all I did. I'm boring.
Are you ready for Thanksgiving?
Not yet. No, I'm not doing Thanksgiving. My parents are. So,
oh yay!
Yeah, their house is kind of back to normal again after Ian.
Yeah,
took long enough. So they want to do it. So I'm like, all right, you do it. I'll just do Christmas. So.
Perfect. That's for you to do, right?
Yes, I don't mind. It's a big meal. Yeah. It's a big meal.
You know, this will be the first time we're having. I think even the previous time, I think it was just my oldest son and his girlfriend came, and then, like, I don't know, it feels like we haven't had as many, because it'll be the older son, his partner,
right,
my younger son, his wife, and our granddaughter,
right.
And then we've got a couple of friends that are going to be there, and it's going to be like, I don't know how to make for that many people. I don't.
Just make a bunch of appetizers.
Scarlett's easy.
Yeah.
Scarlett's easy. Her little thing, when she came over the summer, I had bought one of those. It's like a high chair, but it attaches to the side of the table, so her legs hang. Mm. So she's easy. I can put her off anywhere.
Very cool.
That'll be fun.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, chatters.
Yes.
Well, for the story today, you asked me to do an intro on profiling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of our favorite subjects. Yes. Some of our favorite people.
Yes, although John Douglas would be really disappointed in this case.
But, oh, boo.
Yeah, I know. But
he does make a cameo appearance.
Oh, cool. Okay.
In this little intro.
Okay.
So, criminal profiling is an investigative strategy used by law enforcement agencies to identify likely suspects and has been used by investigators to link cases that have been committed by the same perpetrator. The earliest reference, this blew my mind, to profiling dates back to the 1st century AD.
Really? I didn't know
that.
Okay.
I was like, what? So apparently it was in an essay by R.S. Feldman, and it was titled Introduction to the Speaker. And it included information about gestures people used at that time. Mm-hmm. So it was like kind of like profiling what certain gestures mean at that time.
Body language, things like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, that's insane. Mm. Of note, there is also an opinion that the first professional profiler was the protagonist of Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Yes.
This was published in 1841, who used a method of constructing a psychological portrait of the killer. Mm-hmm. Now, Quick reference, guys. Episode 43, we did cover the life and mysterious death of Edgar Allan Poe. So, yeah, might want to go back and have a listen to that. Additionally, one of the first offender profiles was assembled by detectives in the Metropolitan Police on the personality of Jack the Ripper. Like, that was the first time a psychological profile was really kind of put together. Police surgeon Thomas Bond was asked to give his opinion on the extent of the murderer's surgical skill and knowledge. Thomas Bond's basic profile included that, quote, the murderer must have been a man of physical strength and great coolness and daring, subject to periodic attacks of homicidal and erotic mania. The characters of the mutilations indicate that the man may be in a condition sexually, and that may be called satyriasis. I actually had to look up the pronunciation and the definition because I was like, what the fuck is satyriasis? Well, it's a term that's now considered hypersexuality.
Oh.
And this is a medical condition that causes unwanted or excessive sexual arousal that causes someone to engage in or think about sexual activity to a point of distress or impairment.
Sounds like a nasty rash.
Satyriasis. The originators of the modern profiling, as we know today, are no strangers to us. Of course, the FBI's Robert Ressler and John Douglas. Jed. We did an episode on Jed, so go back and check it out. Ressler and Douglas took a profile to a deeper level using psychology and identifying characteristics of an individual and forming a general description of their personality based on an analysis of the crimes that the perpetrator committed. And according to the FBI, there is a 7-step process that investigators follow to complete a thorough criminal profile. These are 1, evaluation of the criminal act itself, 2, comprehensive evaluation of the specifics found at the crime scene, 3, comprehensive analysis of the victim, 4, evaluation of preliminary police reports, 5, assessment of the medical examiner's autopsy protocol, 6, development of a profile with critical offenders' characteristics. 7, investigative suggestions based on the constructed profile. Now, with a complete criminal profile, investigators can gain a better understanding to the type of person that would be most likely to commit the crime that was being investigated. However, criminal profiling is not a perfect process. The observations required that I mentioned, those 7, can create a profile that is subjective. But there are 2 key points into minimizing this subjectivity. First, that logic and reasoning should be employed in the construction of the profile. And 2, that the logic and reasoning employed is clearly explained throughout. Basically, these formalize the process and move it away from like that gut instinct, that intuition, or like, it's common sense. Well, how is it common sense? It relies more on the scientific methods versus intuition.
Yeah.
Experienced investigative professionals can use the proven method to round up multiple suspects and narrow down the possibilities to a few potential offenders. And basically, it's instead of casting a net out in the ocean, you're casting a net in a lake.
Right.
Where
that's a good analogy.
It's not as many, so you're already kind of narrowing down the playing field. When used in conjunction with other tools and techniques, criminal profiling can be quite effective in locating a person or people responsible for a crime. Criminal profiling can be more applicable to some crimes versus others. Some of the profiles especially effective are cases involving hostage takers, rapists, arsonists, sexual murderers, and, I thought this was interesting, the identification of writers of threatening letters. So like a ransom note or like, somebody who leaves a calling card. Example, hostage situations. By analyzing the psychological characteristics of the hostage taker, law enforcement can more effectively determine the best way to negotiate the safe release of the hostages. Another example with the letter, anonymous writing, investigators use psycholinguistic techniques to create what is known as a threat dictionary, which reveals specific vocabulary tendencies used by a person of interest that may have written the letters. Now, handwriting analysis is like one of my morbid passions.
Is it?
It's like one of my favorite techniques that I ever did was comparison, handwriting comparison. You have an unknown writer, but you have a document that is evidence.
Right.
And then you use it as a comparison to a suspect to see if there are indications in the writing, like certain points that are indicative of it being the same person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
So
absolutely
interesting.
fascinated by it. Yes. So, Nat, how would you spot a serial killer? Are criminals born or are they made?
Oh, I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While it's not necessarily easy to identify future serial killers, there are some traits that could be considered early signs. For instance, childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
This could be physical or sexual abuse, family dysfunction, or emotionally distant or absent parents. Trauma is the single reoccurring theme in biographies of most serial killers who, as a consequence of this trauma, suppress their emotional responses. They never learn the appropriate responses to trauma and never develop other emotions, which is why they find it difficult to empathize with others. And they can actually, like, that's a sociopath, right? Where it's not, where you're not able to, or is it psychopath?
When you say sociopath, think of people who struggle with connecting with
Yeah.
people, where a
That's what I was
psychopath
thinking.
is
Yeah.
super charming and super charismatic
Yes.
and all that goodies.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was thinking. So yes, a sociopath is somebody who is not able to identify those signs in order to be empathetic, whereas
Right.
maybe a psychopath recognizes those signs but uses it to their advantage and manipulation. So that would have been maybe, I don't know, made. You can learn that behavior, but another sign is in the genes. Certain genes can predispose people to violence. Now, as related to the aforementioned trauma, they learn to suppress empathy or it has suffered damage to areas of the brain that control emotional impulses. Those certain genes that are kind of already in predispose them to if something happens, if trauma occurs, it automatically
Triggers or something.
yeah, like there's something in the brain that kind of controls their emotional responses. So maybe a little bit of both. But additionally, serial killers are loners, oftenly, who fear all relationships and seek control to destroy other people and eliminate the possibility of another humiliating rejection. Those who've studied serial killers believe that many are at least partly motivated by the attention and the fame that the mass media provides for mass murderers, right? But with that being said, there are 4 serial killer typologies based on the type of crime that was committed in their killings. One is called hedonistic. The hedonistic killers are thrill seekers who derive pleasure and satisfaction from killing, seeing people as expendable means for them to get their goal. Forensic psychologists have identified 3 subtypes to the hedonistic killer: lust, thrill, and comfort.
Wow. Okay.
So an example of a hedonistic lust killer is Jeffrey Dahmer. His increasing need for stimulation was demonstrated by the dismemberment of his victims, whose heads and genitals he preserved, in his attempt to create living zombies that would be kind of like under his control.
Yeah.
The second one, a hedonistic for thrill. This example would be the Alaskan human hunter Robert Hansen. We covered that story in episode 47, the Alaskan human hunter. He would turn his victims loose in a secluded area and then hunt and kill them. So that's the thrill.
Yeah.
And lastly, a comfort killer, a hedonistic comfort killer, is one who is motivated by material gain and a comfortable lifestyle. An example of this would be H.H. Holmes. He killed for insurance and business profits. So that would be like a comfort. And I mean, you could even see some of the women who poison their husbands.
I can't believe you just said that, because I was just about to say, we went over some of these people last season, and a majority of them were women who were killing for comfort.
Yes, exactly. So that was all hedonistic, and I said there's 4 types. The second type is mission-oriented killers. They have a desire to eradicate a certain group and are not considered psychotic. An example of a mission-oriented killer is Joseph Paul Franklin. He was a white supremacist who exclusively targeted Jewish, biracial, and African Americans for the purpose of inciting a race war. You could also look at this as like a hate crime. I mean, that could probably be an additional charge.
This be like a Manson family situation? Like, would they fall under that category?
Well, I don't know was Manson targeting people based on race?
He wanted a race war.
Yes. Then yeah. He would be a mission-oriented.
Wow.
Yep. Pseudo-killer, right? He never killed anybody.
No.
The third type is a visionary killer, and these killers see things. They're psychopathic, wherein they're directed by another being. The Son of Sam, a.k.a. David Berkowitz, is an example of a visionary killer. He claimed that a demon transmitted orders through his neighbor's dog and told him to commit murder. And then the last one, number 4, is the power or control seekers. They are frequently stone-cold psychopaths. These killers gain sexual gratification from dominance of their victims, deciding when, how, and under what circumstances their victims die. An example of this would be Dennis Rader, a.k.a. Bind, Torture, Kill, BTK. Bind, Torture, Kill. I think that's what we said in our episode. We covered it in episode 101, the BTK killer.
Yeah.
He murdered at least 10 people through seeking power, control, and domination over his victims. That's a little bit of the different types of criminal profiling, the different types that are out there, the typologies, how they're done. So I hope that helps get ready for your story.
Thank you. And that last
You're
one
welcome.
reminds me of a movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, American Psycho.
I've never seen it, and you've mentioned it before. It's Christian Bale, right?
Yes. Really good movie. Like, just crazy good. But
Yeah.
in it weirdly, it's also funny.
Okay. So.
You have to watch it to understand what I mean. But, like, it's goofy in a way, but it's also very, very serious. Like, he's killing people, you know. It's just the...
Yeah.
There's one scene where he lured a girl back to his stellar, clean, white apartment, and then he plays like
Wow.
I think he plays like Hall & Oates or something, and he's saying or something, and he's like, you know, back in 1986, and he starts dishing out these points of intro. Like, it's just crazy.
Oh god.
Let's just face it, the movies from the 80s and 90s were just iconic, and we just don't have that anymore. Like, we don't have a Clueless. We don't have movies that are just generate style, vibe, attitude. Like, we just don't have that the way we used to have it.
They're just all remakes.
They're all remakes. Yeah. We actually no, that was in the no, that wasn't in the 90s. We had one movie that was pretty iconic, which was Mean Girls. Yeah. But that was still 20 years ago, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into my story. You ready?
Yes, let's. Yes.
Okay. Well, picture this. It's a typical morning in Germany.
Oh, guten Tag.
With the kind of quiet, picturesque charm you'd expect to see on a postcard. Mm-hmm. But beneath this calm exterior, something deeply sinister is unfolding. This isn't the Germany of soundtracks and sunshine. It's the beginning of one of the strangest and most frustrating criminal cases the world has ever seen.
Okay.
Tonight, we are diving into a tale that shattered the trust in one of the most reliable forms of evidence, DNA.
Oh.
Ready?
Yeah. Yes.
The Phantom of Heilbronn, also known as the Woman Without a Face, was believed to be responsible for a slew of crimes across Germany, from petty theft to brutal murders. The hunt to catch this invisible killer grew desperate as each crime yielded DNA evidence connecting them to a single suspect. But as you'll soon learn, the infamous Phantom of Heilbronn wasn't what anyone expected. Our story begins on April 25th, 2007, in the city of Heilbronn, Germany. It's a warm spring day with two police officers, 22-year-old Michelle Quezawetter.
Well,
Quezawetter.
here's a little.
I did Google that.
Well, it's Kiesewetter because the W's in German are pronounced as a V. Kies, and I only know that from towns I've been to. It's like Kaiserslautern and that kind of thing. It's Kiesewetter.
Google, you're out. Cat's right. So Michelle Kiesewetter.
Wetter. Yep.
And her partner, Martin Arnold. Where the hell did that name come from?
Martin Arnold.
Not very German. They're sitting in their cruiser, enjoying a peaceful lunch break. Then, in a twist straight out of a horror movie, two strangers slipped into the back seat of their patrol car and opened fire. The ambush was brutal, unexpected, and leaves both officers shot point blank. The killers then fled with the officers' weapons and handcuffs.
So they snuck into the patrol car? That's brazen.
Aren't the back seats usually locked in America? Like, you can't get
Yeah.
in with that.
Yeah.
Well, you can't get out.
Well,
I don't know.
you could get in, yeah, you can't get out. So even if they were to sneak into the back end American cruiser, they couldn't get out.
Right.
They just kind of signed their
Yeah.
own warrant.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that commercial with a girl? She just got eye surgery, and she gets into a police car, and she's like, "Take me to Fifth Avenue." She thought it was
Oh,
Uber.
yes. Yes.
That's great. That's something I would do. Okay,
Take
back
me
to
to
the story.
Fifth Avenue. Take me to sex.
This was no typical crime in Heilbronn, a quiet town, and the police scrambled for answers. They quickly found a lead, DNA left on the back of the seat and console of the vehicle.
Okay.
Even more shocking was the revelation that the DNA belonged to a woman.
Gasp.
Yes. Traditionally, violent crimes against police officers point towards male suspects, and the brutality of the attack suggested a seasoned, ruthless killer. But DNA doesn't lie, right? Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Well, the results would only be as good as the sample was that was taken.
Yeah,
So,
true. The investigation leaned heavily on 3 elements to build a profile. 1. Victimology. The target was a young police officer, which suggested the killer had no regard for law enforcement, a brazen characteristic typical of experienced or desperate criminals.
Okay.
2. Weapon choice. The assailant took the officer's weapons after the attack, suggesting that they might have been unarmed and seized the opportunity. Or 3. Escape and evasion. The swift, clean getaway pointed to a meticulous, organized criminal or well-coordinated team.
so at this point, do they think it's one person or multiple?
Don't know. They just have that DNA of
Okay.
that one person. Really quickly, I found it interesting because I was trying to see if there were any differences between how the U.S. profiles criminals and how Germany profiles criminals. So if you notice anything different, point it out because I would love to know.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
All right. So when police ran the DNA through their database, they were stunned. This female DNA matched samples from numerous other crimes, including 6 murders across Germany, Austria, and even France. Germany was now hunting a ruthless, invisible female killer, and as her criminal record grew, she would be dubbed the woman without a face. So that was their headline. The first crime that attributed to this DNA profile happened years earlier in 1993 in the peaceful town of Oberstein. Didn't we say Oberstein once before? We went over this town once before. I think you did. Didn't we have a case in Germany and we said Oberstein? What am I thinking of?
I don't. I've slept since then. I don't remember.
I want to say we did. It sounds very familiar.
Your memory is better than mine, and that's what I tell my husband all the time. Your memory is better than mine.
Then
so
we're screwed. Okay.
if that's what you say.
Okay.
If I didn't write it down, it didn't happen.
So this was a beloved elderly woman named Lizelot. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Because Google
It looks like
spat that out.
so. It looks like Lieselot.
Lieselot?
Like a Lies. Yeah, like Lieselot Schlenger.
Schlenger. Okay.
Lieselot Schlenger.
Lieselot.
I have friends that live in Germany are probably cussing me up and down right now.
Thank you for listening, Germany. Okay, so she was found strangled in her own home. She had just placed a lemon cake in the oven when someone stopped her. The phantom's DNA was found on a teacup at the scene, linking her
Wow.
to Michelle's murder years later. For investigators, this crime was perplexing, and they used 3 primary elements to try to build this profile. 1. Method of killing. Lieselot was strangled with a piece of floral wire in close contact, suggesting personal range and familiarity with the victim. 2. Victim selection. A 62-year-old woman seemed an unlikely target, implying either an opportunistic crime or someone
Yeah.
who saw her as easy prey.
Yeah.
And number 3, scene specifics. The DNA left behind on the teacup hinted that the suspect stayed close to the scene or acted calmly enough to handle objects in the home, indicating possibility of a calculated killer. So I would think like maybe she invited her in for some tea. Maybe it's somebody she knows.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Somebody that's close to him, that knows, that would feel comfortable sitting down, having a cup of tea, all the while as, Liselot, put the lemon cake into the oven.
Right.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's where I heard this town before. A bonus episode, and I did a story on the Satan in a Skirt.
Yeah, Satan in a Skirt. Yes, I do remember. I thought that was Russia.
It was, but she did travel. She was at one point, I think there was a murder in Germany or something.
Yeah,
something connected her to. I got to go back to listen to my own episode because I don't remember exactly where I said that down.
You've slept since then.
Okay, so now fast forward to 2001 when the Phantom's DNA reappeared in another strangulation case.
Ooh, okay, starting to develop an MO.
Yeah, an antique dealer named Joseph Walzenbach was discovered murdered in his store, strangled with a garden twine. Police found the Phantom's DNA on the door handle, adding to the growing list of crimes and raising more questions. They built another profile, adding some more elements. Number 1, they said it was weapon of convenience. The killer used twine found in the store, showing adaptability and possible lack of premeditation regarding specific weapons.
Another crime of opportunity.
Yeah, and there was twine used in Lisa Let's
the first one.
Strangulation.
Yeah.
And number 2, financial gain. A small sum of money was taken, hinting at someone who might have financial need but wasn't primarily motivated by greed. Number 3, scene awareness. The killer had flipped the store sign closed after the murder, was suggested either a calculated decision to delay discovery or a chilling level of composure. That's interesting.
So yeah, I'm thinking for me, it was they had an itch.
Yeah.
And maybe they'd killed before and they needed to kill again. There's something, I don't necessarily think the financial gain was part of the original, murder.
Right.
I do think it was a target of opportunity and also an opportunity to say, oh, it's a store. Let me take some cash too. I don't think it's associated necessarily with robbery. That's just my take. But I don't think, I do think the flipping the clothes sign after the murder would be to delay
the finding
and to give them time to get away.
Yes, I agree. Now the cases grew more bizarre. In 2001, a child in Germany stepped on a discarded heroin needle. When police swabbed it, they found the Phantom's DNA again. Was she now a drug addict? This changed the profile just a little bit. Now they added number 1, potential addiction. The use of heroin needles hinted at possible substance abuse, aligning with the chaotic nature of her growing list of crimes. Number 2, risky evidence. Leaving a needle behind in a public place suggests a lack of caution or impulsive driven behavior. And number 3, geographical spread. The location miles from the previous crimes show her mobility, making her a migrant offender and harder to track.
Okay.
Once again, this is how Germany profiles. So some of these terms may be foreign to us because this is not necessarily the lingo we would use. So now, from murders to petty thefts, the Phantom DNA was everywhere. In 2003, a small office near Frankfurt was broken into. A coffee tin full of change was stolen.
Okay.
Police found the Phantom's DNA on a scrape of skin where the can was placed or sitting, or maybe had a little dust ring around it.
Sure, if you're, especially for tin, if you got the rough edges and the person's quickly reaching in, trying to get, sometimes the skin could, I see that.
She needs a manicure. This break-in added another layer to her profile. Oh my God, this profile. All right, number 1. This is additional 3. Minimalistic motive. A coffee tin robbery suggested possible financial desperation, adding confusion about the type of criminal they were dealing with.
Okay.
Number 2, lack of fingerprints. The precision with which she left no trace pointed to a level of caution and experience with burglary.
Except for reaching in a tin can.
Right. Number 3, scene interaction. DNA found near the stolen item indicated that she handled objects carefully, potentially to maintain control and avoid trace evidence. I mean, this profile is just getting larger. It's getting a little out of control at this point.
Well, the fact that piece of skin or a scrape of skin was left in the can, if she was that cautious about leaving DNA, she would have taken the whole tin with her.
Right.
Because even if it didn't make you bleed, if there's like that, just a layer of dermis was, removed from something, then, like, if she was that savvy, she would have known that, I would have taken it with me. So I don't know that she was that smart.
Yeah, I don't think she was thinking that way at that. I don't know anybody that would think that way.
Well, this is what, 2003? I mean, you would know about skin and as part of DNA, right?
Yeah, but if you're stealing a thing of change, I mean, intelligent criminals are not gonna bust in to steal, your jar of quarters. I don't think. I mean, I don't.
Well, yeah, well, that's true. Point taken.
So
she not smart.
In total, her DNA would be found on approximately 40 crimes.
Okay.
Tied to murders, drug-related offenses, and bizarre thefts.
So, can I ask another question?
Sure.
Could our phantom be intentionally leaving DNA behind?
Ooh, that's a good conclusion. That's interesting that you say that. That's interesting.
Like to say, like, intentionally, okay, so the tin, right? A scrape of skin that was left in there. I mean, that's too easy to, like, take tweezers and be like, I'll put this right here. Boop.
Yeah, she wants to be on the news. She wants to see her name in the headlines, the woman without a face, because that's their tagline right now on all the newspapers. Yeah. So she knows that's her.
Ooh,
I know.
Becoming famous.
Well, the sheer range of crimes was unparalleled, and authorities struggled to reconcile with profiling techniques. Then came one of the Phantom's most confusing cases. In 2008, police found her DNA at the scene of a triple homicide. 3 used car dealers were found drowned in the Rhine River, and DNA on one of the suspects' belongings pointed to the Phantom. Profiling the crime, they noted 1, victim selection. Used car dealers suggested possible ties to organized crime or black market connection.
That's interesting.
Not all used car dealers are bad, although they make me feel very uncomfortable when I go to a store.
Oh, well, that could be that, regional specific.
Right.
Maybe that's something that's to them.
Number 2, escalation of violence. A triple homicide represented a whole new level of aggression, pointing to a more dangerous and organized side of her profile.
Okay.
Number 3, companion presence. The DNA on the suspect's belongings led police to believe that she had a criminal associate. At this point, the Phantom's reputation grew so notorious that European police offered €300,000.
That's a pretty significant reward.
It is.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Now, desperate for answers, they even consulted psychics and examined leads from profilers across Europe. They didn't talk to John. Like, what the hell?
Oh, John Douglas.
They didn't talk to Jed. I mean,
Jed.
Well, we know John. John's John. They didn't talk to Jed.
He's our BFF.
Nothing they came up with stuck. Like, the profile, as you can see, is just morphing into something else and something else and something else. Phantom remained as mysterious as ever. Then, in 2009, a breakthrough came.
Ooh, good.
One that unraveled everything. Investigators retested a 2002 case involving an asylum seeker's death, expecting to find her DNA. This was one of the cases she was connected to. And they reran the evidence, and they didn't find her DNA on the second go. Confused, police turned to the tools used to gather the evidence and discover something shocking. The cotton swabs used in multiple cases were contaminated.
I quit. That's fucking... Oh my God.
You didn't see it coming. Right? Yeah. This contamination traced back to a single factory where workers, mostly women, handled the swabs.
Like manufacturing and like the swabs that they would use. So of course, okay, so the police, when they received it, if they received it in, when you get swabs, they're sealed. They usually say sterile on them. So it's like not anything that would give police an indication that they would be contaminated. So it was pre-packaging. Is that right?
Well, so there is a grading system when it comes to these things, and the products that the police should be using should be aligned with having zero evidence. All this stuff brought
Yeah, it
down
should
to
be.
zero.
Yeah, it should be sterile. Yeah.
There is like a grading where you can buy, maybe if you're trying to save a buck, you can buy like factory Q-tips that are technically sterile, but they're not like government issued.
We'll take the
Did
cheap
not,
side.
yeah, did not use
We'll
like
take-
the government issued.
It's like when you're buying something you want new or
Right.
used. Oh, we'll
Exactly.
use the used one? We'll take
Right.
the used one. We'll take the packages that have already been opened. Oh my god.
It's like spam.
I never would have thought that because it's so stupid. Like, I never would have thought that.
And I didn't realize there was different levels of being sterile. There
So
are
of
different
course
levels of it.
They're going to find the same fucking DNA with the same swabs that were from the same factory with the same woman that handled it.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
My mind is exploding right now. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see that on my face.
The more they looked, the more horrifying the truth became. The cotton swabs used across Europe were
Oh my
supposed to be
God.
sterile. However, sterile only meant free of bacteria, fungi, and viruses. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are different degrees of sterile. And they went for the budget barrel of sterile. So they have never been certified for DNA use, which meant that they could contain trace DNA from workers who produced them. Investigators realized that these swabs could have been carrying human DNA, sweat, and skin cells, anything microscopic, from factory workers. And the DNA profile they had been tracing, the Phantom's DNA, was likely to be an innocent worker at a factory that was just manufacturing these swabs.
Can you imagine? Okay. You go to get like a background clearance
Yeah.
and you have to give your fingerprints, right? And you have to give a DNA swab for background checks. And all of a sudden, your DNA or your fingerprints hits on this whole list of crimes that they're like, can you imagine being that lady and like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I've worked in a factory my whole life. Like,
Right.
I don't. That's, oh my god.
That's crazy.
How horrible.
Well, it's a pretty damning mistake too. So
Yes.
this discovery sent shockwaves through Europe, and not to mention these cotton swabs, like I said, were getting used across Germany, Austria, France, wherever the DNA was found. Ironically, now remember, they have to go back now because they've used these for everything, like all of their evidence.
It's almost like a reverse investigation where like you or somebody gets cleared, right? And then they have to go back, or if evidence was mishandled in a case, anytime we talked about it, the one, and I think it was Michael Peterson,
Right.
The forensics expert testified in his case, was admitted to like at least 2/3 of his cases like mishandling evidence. Then they have to then go back and redo all of that shit again.
And they have to go back from the day they started purchasing
Yeah.
from that company, because Liesl, her case was in 1993.
Yeah.
For German law enforcement, this was a public relations disaster.
Of course.
The police had spent years. They calculated that it was 2 million euro, which is about 2.1 million US dollars, and thousands of hours hunting a phantom. But worse still was the realization that they had been chasing a ghost while real criminals walked free.
And they're probably putting out like press releases, like it's a woman, blah blah blah.
Right.
Like this is what we're thinking, and like this is how we're profiling her. Da da da. And can you imagine like the real person behind it sees it on the news and they're like,
Yeah. You sounded like Count Dracula. One murder got away with.
9 shiz, or what's it? Scheiße. That's German for shit. Scheiße.
With the contaminated DNA tainting evidence, dozens of cases had to be reopened or abandoned, and any legitimate DNA evidence was no longer available, basically.
Yeah.
So the case of the Phantom of Heilbronn had turned law enforcement's most powerful weapon, DNA, against them. In 2011, police finally solved Michelle how do you say her last name again?
Kaisaveta.
Her murder. Her gun was found amongst the belongings of two neo-Nazi terrorists, both linked to the NSU group. So this is a terrorist organization.
In Germany, yeah.
In Germany. These men had likely been responsible for numerous murders, particularly targeting immigrants. If Michelle's gun hadn't been found, who knows if they would have ever caught them.
Yeah.
Her case would probably still remain unsolved.
Well, I mean, at least they have ballistics. They can go back
Yeah.
and, link it to Michelle, and like that was her gun. They know that it was used and how it was fired, and yeah.
Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put it
So
all in the
wasn't-
DNA basket. You got to spread those eggs around.
But it wasn't necessarily a DNA failure. And that's
No,
what I was
no.
like assuming. It's like, well, what's wrong? Like, there's like a 99.9999999 percentile of it being like, or like you've seen some of them, like where there's a 1 in 1 trillion chances that it would be somebody. I mean, that's pretty fucking exclusive. Like DNA doesn't lie. Now, it doesn't lie in the fact that it was the same DNA that all of these different crime scenes.
Yes.
So it doesn't lie. It just was contaminated.
So the aftermath of the Phantoms case led to a couple of overhauls of forensic standards. The new IS 18385 protocol was established, ensuring all forensic collecting tools are DNA free. I think that should have been a given, but okay, let's start from there.
Like, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This protocol had sent stringent guidelines for manufacturers, specifying that any product meant for forensic DNA testing must be free of human DNA to avoid contamination. And this is crazy because you think the company that is selling the police officers this product, that they would be transparent, saying it's, like, once again, like, what does that mean when there is gradings of sterilization?
It shouldn't
like,
be. It's either sterile or it's not. It's one or the other.
But they have, they have a grade. They have a grade for it. In other words, like, as long as it doesn't have, what did it say before, bacteria, viruses, or whatever, but it could have human DNA.
Okay. Even if I go in and I give blood, right? The needle that they put in my arm, it's great. Yeah. No bacteria, virus, like nothing on there. I don't want no fucking other person's human DNA getting stuck in my arm. I might turn into the Red Hulk.
It sounds like those Q-tips were created for like public consumption.
Like to clean your ears. No, there are specific DNA collecting swabs.
The Phantom's Tale endures as a reminder of the fallibility of science and the sometimes unintended consequences of forensics evidence. Next time you hear that DNA cracked the case, remember, the Phantom of Heilbronn, a chilling, unforgettable tale of science gone wrong, leading to a ghost hunt.
Well, the good thing about DNA testing nowadays and typical processes of law enforcement, let's say you've got blood that you're swabbing, right? You go and swab. You collect a specific number. You had to do at least 3 or 5. And even if you send the lab 5 swabs of the same blood collected from the same pool and the same place, same location.
Right.
Only one of those swabs, they don't use the whole sample. Like, they can use such a minute amount. All those other ones are, like, for backup. Like, you collect more than one typically on a scene. I agree that it should not rest solely on DNA. There should be other, either physical evidence, circumstantial testimony, something to help support it, where all kind of big puzzle pieces that you put together. So, yeah, I agree. What a fuck up.
Obviously, John Jed was not present during this, because I don't think this would have happened. I think he would have been like, wow, this girl gets around. I think he probably would have...
Like, your profiles aren't legit. Like, there's something going on here. Like, something a little bit different. Yeah.
So that's my case. My DNA case.
I don't like it. And I don't like it for not normal reasons of being disgusted. I don't like it because it's embarrassing. As a law enforcement, professional. Oh my God. Like, I bet I hope people got fired over this. Like, I really hope people got fired over this because, and it's although I will say typically the do not do's or do's come from a previous mistake.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of guidelines, like, not for internal use, it's external use only. Somebody at one point in time put that medicine internal. Like,
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people fuck up all the time, and it gives us guidelines.
Right. Somebody at one time did not take a Pop-Tart out of the box before they put it in the oven.
Microwave. Or, yes.
Somebody did that.
Unwrap first.
Right.
I can't. So even when I was teaching, I was teaching the pre-deployment stuff, every class that we would get in, there would be something that one of them would do that turned into a do not do on the next class. Our list of do not do's was just stupid long. You would think, because it kind of goes back to that whole thing. Common sense, intuition. You can't rely on that, right?
No.
You have to use the more scientific methods.
Yes.
Do not approach a nuclear power plant and say you're there to test their security. Right. Wrong answer. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yes.
I'm done. All
right. I think this case broke Kat. Okay.
I am. I quit. I'm done. Nope. Stupid.
Oh my God. All right. Well, because we're gonna leave you hanging, chatters, for more information on this case, okay? Please check out. It's not a case. This just complete fuck up. Please check out After That Crime Chat, only available on Patreon.
That poor Phantom lady. That poor lady. Oh my gosh. Okay, don't forget to follow us on Crime Chat with Nat and Kat for all of our socials. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and X. See what we got going on. And we just released some new merch for season 4.
Yes.
Check that out.
Yes. Next time, I'm going to be ordering that mug. I love the mug.
God, yes. So you can go to our website, crimechatwithnatandcat.com, and scroll down, and you'll see a link that goes to our season 4 merch that just dropped.
Yes. So remember, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat. When you become a VIP chatter to our Patreon, you'll have access to bonus episodes, behind the scenes, bloopers, and free merch. We give our VIP chatters free merch. So check out some merch in the works.
Yes. And our next episode, chatters, you're going to want to check out. It is our first bonus episode for season 4. We are going to be covering again our theme, Into the Unknown.
You don't want to miss it.
We'll see you next time, chatters.